Movie reviews. Mulan is out. Let's talk about it. It's Disney Plus after it was supposed to be released back in March, got delayed for obvious reasons. Finally goes on Disney Plus. Having to pay $30 on top of your Disney subscription for this, was it worth it? Plot on IMDb reads a young Chinese maiden disguises herself as a male warrior in order to save her father. It's Mulan. What can you say? The remake from the 90s Disney animated one, which is also just an old story in general, so pretty much you know what you're going to get from this movie. So yes, I grew up with this movie, but I don't hold a huge fondness to this like I think some other people do who grew up in the Disney Renaissance era. So going into this one, I went in fresh, unlike The Lion King where I was like, this is high expectations, and it got very disappointing. This one was like a fresh start, like, hey, Mulan's cool, I like this, the trailers looked amazing, but boy was I let down. Let's start with the story. The story is basic. There's nothing new to this outside of one new character that really, I think, takes away from the point that this movie's trying to make. Essentially bringing this new villain. It's a female. She's a witch that shapeshifts into a bird, which is pretty cool in theory. But Mulan is a very pro-female movie, and it was in the 90s. The fact that a woman was fighting in the military disguised as a man, there's a lot of subtext there about feminism. But I feel like this remake just takes it and pushes it even more so, because now you have this female villain, and her whole point of being there is just, again, to prove, the bad guys that women can also do things. So you kind of have, the good guys and the bad guys both saying that, women can't do this and they only have to do this. And so now you have Mulan and then this witch both arguing against that, saying, no, we're females, we can do things. And that's definitely a trend with Disney, trying to rewrite its past. We saw this in Aladdin when Jasmine got a song. We saw this in Lion King where Nala was given a lot more to do. The problem is when you were trying so hard to be progressive just for the sake of being progressive, it actually draws more attention to the fact that you weren't that way in the past. And with the movie like Mulan, it's already very pro-female, so I don't know if this was necessary because we already get it. The biggest change to the plot are two things. One, there's no Mushu in this movie, and two, this isn't a musical like the original was. Now, at first I was okay with the Mushu thing because I felt like this was going to be a more realistic version of Mulan, but it's not, and if anything, there's even more magic and witchcraft in this movie than there was in the original. So I don't really understand the point of this because this wasn't a grown-up adult version of Mulan. This was still very much a kid's movie, so to add a talking dragon to that would not have taken away from anything this movie was trying to do. The other thing is the songs, which is a huge miss because there are so many iconic songs within Mulan, and when you take that away, it's kind of a boring story. Imagine Aladdin or Lion King or pretty much any of those Renaissance movies without the music. What do you have? Just a typical story that we've already seen before. And the awkwardness about this is that it still follows the same beats that the original took, but without the song. So there's still the I'll make a man out of you scene, just with no music. It's just a training montage. And there's still the Girl I'm Looking For song. I don't know exactly what it's called. There's still that whole conversation about yeah, we want a girl that looks like this, we want a girl like this, but without the song. So without the song, it feels so out of place. And that really goes with a lot of these Disney movies, because when you add animation and music, you're able to do things that live action can't do or feels unnatural to do. It's the suspension of disbelief that animation and musicals can offer us that reality can't. They can take them a lot more liberties to take things that feel awkward and turn them not awkward, but when you put it in a live action movie and take away all those suspensions of disbelief, now it's just an awkward plot. As far as this movie was made, it really wasn't that great of a film. The acting was really mediocre, and the dialogue, again, it's just all very awkward. But the visuals and camera work specifically were very iffy. There were times where it was beautiful cinematography in the mountains, but it was followed up by a very unnatural choreographed fight. These fights, man, were just so weird. The camera would do this thing where it would turn completely vertical and then turn back following someone's kick or a punch or something. And it was just so unnecessary. And when someone would jump in the air, you could almost see the wires and how weird it felt because they were doing things that humans don't usually do. And I get that this movie dealt with a lot with magic and witchcraft and all that stuff, but it just felt so off. And I know I'm just talking a lot down about this movie because I really did have my expectations high for it. Unfortunately, it just didn't hit the mark. That being said, it's definitely not the worst live-action Disney movie, but it's Mulan. It's still a good time. When the beats hit, they do hit, and it's a really inspiring story. And the music from the original movie is used a lot in this score, and it's really touching to see that with the cinematography, with the live-action version of Mulan fighting. And if you like the original, this is something, I guess. But yeah, I'm going to end up giving this a 55 out of 100. That's going to be 3 out of 5 stars if you follow me on Letterboxd, and you should. So that's Mulan. Have you seen it? What do you think? Comment below. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I will see you next time.